Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
We're back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Paul Buitrón. I'm here with Honorable State Representative Richard Raymond. And let me tell you something about our representative. He's one of the few that keeps a promise and keeps on working for the people. There's many out there, but he's one of the few. He's a pillar of Texas, okay? He's one of the columns that makes Texas what it is. I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
A lot of people want to thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate you. You worked with me for a long time, aside from being a good friend, and I know bringing a lot of attentions to different issues through your show, and I think that's what we need, community involvement. But I very much enjoyed working with you. So we worked on is a very tough issue. It's a very important issue, and thankfully, I think we had a really good start toward the road of making things better yesterday with the hearing that we had.
Well, thank you. I'd like to. A lot of people do not know what we're talking about. We're talking about interference with child custody, parent alienation, a lot of things that a lot of people experience, not only in Texas, in the United States, and issues that are hard on a lot of people, not only the police that are involved, the DAs, but people in general, and more especially our children. And this is what it's all about. It's about our children and their future and what will happen here in Texas. And if you can enlighten us with what's going on.
Sure. So again, working with you, Paul, and so many people around the state that you brought together and others brought together, for the last several years, and then last year, we really just continuing to try to figure out how we can, move forward on trying to make improvements. And something that is really, really important, and you touched on it, and that is that our children. We have so many children in Texas who have parents that have been divorced, or in some cases never even married. But you have parents that both want to be involved in that child's life, and that's what we want. We want parents that want to be involved in their children's lives. We know of a lot of parents out there, a lot of couples that are divorced, where one or the other parent, frankly and regrettably, don't want to be involved in that kid's life. But if they do, we have to embrace that as a society. We know that that's good for that child. We know that child is going to have a better chance at doing well because of their interaction and connection to both of their parents, not just one. So even if the parents don't get along well, that's besides the point. If you have a court order, you have an agreement that has been signed off by the judge, and frankly, both parties have said, this is what we're going to agree to, that this child can visit with both parents, you have to honor that. But what happens is we have too many cases out there, way, way too many, where that's not happening. And even though the current law provides for something to happen there, to try to enforce it, it's very, very tough. And you know that because the courts are clogged up, the police officers don't know what to do. Oftentimes prosecutors don't want to prosecute that case because, they think it's a civil issue and it's a civil matter, and they say, go back to court. Go take it in front of a judge, tell the judge that they're not complying with a court order. It's extremely costly, costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time. And as I said, for starters, even before COVID, our courts were backlogged. During COVID, it got worse. And we're working on that on a separate note. I'm working on that, trying to help the courts as well. But what we came up with, really, again, you put together where we had several people like this on a Zoom call. And the idea that maybe at a local level, the cities and the counties could get involved in trying to help with this matter. And so I wrote up the bill House Bill 4442, which you helped me write. And it says it's going to allow the city, for example, to pass an ordinance. And again, through your good work, Paul, really, you stayed on it, and I appreciate it, man. The city of Laredo passed a resolution. The city council passed a resolution supporting this and asking for it. And that helped me tremendously when I was able yesterday to present that bill in the Juvenile Justice Committee and Juvenile Justice and Family Matters, you know, to talk about and read the resolution the City Council in Laredo had passed supporting this and asking for it. That was very powerful. I read the whole resolution to the committee during my testimony. And you allow the cities, and this doesn't mandate it, Paul. This is very important. We're not mandating it, but we're saying if the city, if the support is there in the community, in a city, or if it's an outside of a city area, unincorporated areas, for the county to be able to pass an ordinance, the city passes an ordinance, for example, and says, look, we're going to fine you if there's a court order and you're supposed to let that child, for example, go with another parent, you know, on a Friday at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon after school, and be with that parent till 4 or 5 o'clock on Sunday. That is quality time that child is spending with that parent. But if the parent, the other parent doesn't want to let that child go, or they hide, or they're not there, or they basically just try to make it hard for that to happen, too many times it goes on and on and on forever. So you have an ordinance, and the ordinance says a police officer gets there, assesses the situation. It's clear that, you know, they're not complying. They can give them a ticket. They can write up a ticket to that person, and then that person's going to have to go to municipal court. And I really believe what I'm about to say, Paul, is that they get one ticket, and I bet you they're going to comply from then on. They get 2 tickets. I mean, at that point, I really do think that they, you know, like, look, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. But if that keeps happening, now you can go back to the district attorney. You can go back to a district judge and say, hey, here's a person who over and over and over has been given these tickets, you know, by the police officer for violating this ordinance on, you know, child custody. So I think it's a good way to bring attention to it. It's a good way to allow the police officer, many times they feel like they're candidly handcuffed, where they can't really do much because they're like, oh, you got to go to court, you know, and that takes forever and costs a lot of money. This way, they're able to see, wait a minute, this person is supposed to let the other parent take the child. They're not letting them do it. I'm not gonna arrest them, but I'm gonna give them a ticket, and then they're gonna go get in front of the municipal judge. And I think we think, I mean, you and I worked on this, and other people worked on it, George Saldana and others, and I believe that will have a fundamental change and impact. It's very interesting, Paul. Other bills in the past where you've seen people come up and oppose a bill that don't want you to change this or that. Yesterday, all those groups were in favor of it. It was very interesting to watch. Very interesting to watch. George can tell you. And so to have all these groups supporting it, and they're like, you know what, we think it is a good idea. And, you know, and I'm not mandating it, but I believe you're going to see this not only in Laredo, but I think you're going to see it in a lot of other places around the state of Texas. And as I said to the members yesterday when I laid out the bill, hey, if it doesn't work, we can come back 2 years from now and change it. But I believe that we're going to come back 2 years from now and say, man, I think it's working. That's my hope. I know that's our hope, Paul, but I really think that it's going to have an impact on something that is so important. One of the witnesses, George Saldana, when he went up to testify, he had a stack of papers just to show the number of incidences in San Antonio in 1 year, just San Antonio, you know, where you had these violations, like 16,000 of them. I think this is going to change that dynamic.
Oh, yeah, very much so. And that's the reason why we place it that way, because a lot of police officers come out there and they don't want to argue with parents, you know, and it just escalates the point that everybody's going to come out with their emotions at ease.
Right.
The parent that went there and could not see their child, he's going to have his emotions are going to be at ease. He's not going to be suffering what many people do suffer. And the other parent, well, you know, they got the infraction, but also the police, you know, the police are going to be that it's taking that weight off their chest, you know, that, you know.
Yeah, they're not arresting anybody, but they're giving them a ticket. And that ticket is going to put things into action. It's going to put things into movement. And I think you're going to see that dynamic. I really believe it, Paul. I really do. I'm hopeful. I know that I'm being hopeful about it, but I think we're going to see a difference.
I think it's going to change things. I think once somebody gets that ticket, it's going to run through social media, and people are going
Right.
to say, wait a minute, you know what? They're going to be out there with their lunchbox and their clothes ready to go with the other parent. Watch what's going to happen. I think
Well,
so.
and we're leaving it, the way I wrote up the bill is I leave it up to the individual city council or the commissioner's court. It says you can do up to $500 per ticket, right? It doesn't have to be 500, it could be 100, it could be 150, it could be 300, whatever. I capped it at 5 because I think 5 is, that's plenty high, right? That's going to get people's attention. And they may start off with it being lower. Maybe they say the second offense, first offense, $200. Second one, $300. Third one, $400. It may be that that's the way they want to write it out at the city council. I'll leave that up to them, but I give them that flexibility in the bill, and I think they can maybe stair step it that way. But in any event, I think that you're giving the police officers a tool to work with, but they don't have to arrest somebody and handcuff them and take them in and deal with all that.
Because it's very, very emotional also for the child if they see that one parent that one parent being taken away by the police. And
Right.
and it's sad because it's happened in some cities, and especially here in Laredo, that one parent goes and shows up and gets into the argument. The police actually arrested the father that was in the right, and you're like,
Right.
okay. So
Right.
at least we can stop all this and all the angles. And
Well, I feel good about it, and so we're going to keep pushing it. But like I said, as of today, I guess I've gotten about 5. Yeah, let's see. Let me think for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them have already told me yes, so that's good. We've got four more to go, but I feel very good about it.
well, thank you. And I want to thank George and the other groups that are out there struggling, and they're out there doing a good job, because this encompasses everybody. It just crosses all
Great.
barriers.
And
And I
they
want to
get
thank
very,
you for
very,
also
very
standing
powerful.
up for everybody.
Well, they give very powerful testimony. And so, and I appreciate them being there. I know it's not easy to go up to the Capitol, people coming in from around the state, but we had about 8, and we held back. We could have had, I told the committee, I could have hundreds or thousands of witnesses, but we kept it to about 8 witnesses, in favor of the bill. And they did a really good job. And there were a lot of other people that were in favor of the bill. They registered for the bill, but they didn't testify just so they wouldn't make it so long. But we had about 8 people that testified, and they did a really good job, including George.
Absolutely. They do great. And let's see you here soon again in Laredo.
Yes, sir.
And let's grab lunch or dinner, and let's keep the friendship going, because you're number one.
Thank you, brother.
Keep a great job going.
Thank you very much.
Going forward. Thank you.
All right, brother.
Until next time. Peace.
Andale. Take care.
Today, in America, more than 5.5 million men, women, and children train in a martial art regularly. Buitron Academy has been serving Laredo for over 30 years now. Our adult classes are geared for producing the best in you, teaching you street-ready techniques. With the arts of Savate and Kenpo, you'll learn the traditions of these sciences of combat, as passed down professor to student.
Hello everybody, my name is Senior Grandmaster Alfredo Bandalan, owner of BDP, Bandalan the Siparis. I'd like to say a few words on Grandmaster Paul Buitrón. He's a man of great integrity, a man of great knowledge of martial art. He's a master of Savate and master of Eskrima. He's a man that can help you to become what you want to be. He's a man that teaches people how to be somebody in life, how to work the world, how to be happy in this world. He's a man that I can say hold many integrity as well as in martial art. But I'd like to say this man has a radio station, does hunting all over the world, and he works with all kind of people, all walks of life. All I want to say, that Paul Buitrón is a man that can help people to be somebody in life. I'd like to say aloha, thank you.
I am Grandmaster Michael Duran, of Original Huronist Criminal Federation here in Vallejo, California. Professor Paul Buitrón is an accomplished martial artist who has developed an understanding that as a caretaker in our martial arts, it is his responsibility to keep the art alive and in depth. He acknowledged that it is the students that give the art life. I hold his friendship and his continuing accomplishments in the art in the most highest regard. Thank you.
Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo. Give us a call for your free evaluation at 956-401-4868 or check out our website at savat.biz. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook.